Mila was decked out in the finest hiking clothing they could find. A layer of Gore-Tex tights and a compression shirt as a base layer, followed by a pair of thick green wool tights and a heavy wool sweater under a camo performance jacket. Her red hiking boots were thick and waterproof, worn over calf-high wool socks. Her long black hair was bundled up in a large knit hat that covered her forehead and hung down the back of her head like a gray sack. Finn would be sweating his ass off if he were to wear all that in this weather. "I think my Mexican half is rebelling," she laughed, taking the flask and putting it back in the backpack. "My mother came from a small town in the Rockies north of Boise, so she was used to the cold. But I take after my dad, who was from Cancun, and never met a winter he didn't hate." "That and the fact that you might not be big enough to produce enough heat might have something to do with it." Finn smiled at the sour look she flashed him. "I'm not underweight, mister. Just compact." She struck a power pose and haughtily turned her nose up at him. The shiver that ran through her made her quickly wrap her arms around herself after the pose exposed her to the cold, just a little too much. "A very compact 100 pounds, Finn agreed. "I do not weigh 100 pounds, she said defensively, before realizing she was playing right into his hands. More quietly and with a small grin, she continued, 98 pounds is exactly on target for my 4'10" frame. Not all of us are 6'5" dwarves with furnaces in our bellies. How much do you weigh, anyway?" Finn shrugged. "Depends on the planet, but here, I weigh around 350, maybe 400. Mila's jaw dropped. "Are you serious? You don't look like you have an ounce of fat on you." "Dwarves are dense. It's why we don't like water." He made a whistling sound as he mimicked a stone sinking with his hand. "We don't float." "No wonder you're warm. You probably burn 1,000 calories an hour just walking around." She shivered once more, her shoulders rolling up close to her ears. Penny huffed and rolled her eyes. She made a grab for Finn's pocket.
"Shitty! Cheaty!"
Finn pulled his ever-present box of Charleston Chew minis from the pocket and dumped a few into his hand, holding it up so that Penny could get at them. She quickly tossed several into her mouth before hopping off his shoulder and gliding over to Mila's. Finn ate the remaining 2 chews and put the box away. "Open your jacket about halfway," he told Mila, who had leaned her head to the side to affectionately bump Penny's flank as the dragon landed on her shoulder. "I'm not going to expose myself to the cold even more. I'm already struggling here." Penny quickly crawled onto the front of Mila's jacket and unzipped it herself. Before Mila could stop her, Penny climbed into the opening, holding the GPS device out in front of her, arms and neck sticking out of the zipper between Mila's breasts like she was a baby in a harness. Penny clamped her mouth shut and began to puff out her cheeks as she created a magical fire in her belly. Mila opened her mouth to protest, but cocked her head and smiled as Penny's body began to radiate heat. "Oh my God! Why didn't you do this from the start? You're like a hot water bottle." Mila awkwardly held her fist so it was facing the tiny dragon riding in her jacket. Penny made a fist of her own and bumped it into Mila's, smiling up at her.
"Squee! She-sure!"
Mila looked at Finn for the translation. Finn laughed. "She says she didn't start there because she thought you were a big girl and could handle a little cold." Mila's jaw dropped and she looked down at Penny, who was staring daggers at Finn.
"Shitty! She-sure!"
She shot a white-hot flame in his direction to punctuate her statement. Finn laughed even harder, holding his hands up in surrender. "I'm kidding. She said she never had a friend who needed her help to warm up before. It was actually a pretty sweet thing for her to say, considering dragons don't count people as friends very often." Now there was a purplish